Greetings from Cooperstown, New York, site of the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum for our latest virtual Voices of the Game program. We thank you for joining us today, this early February day, just really a few days before the start of spring training. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bruce Marcus, and I work in the education department here at the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum. And we're very glad to have with us today Adam Jones. Adam played in the majors from 2006 to 2019, a stellar career, 5 times named to the American League All-Star team, 4-time Gold Glove winner, played primarily center field early in his career, a little bit of left field toward the end, batted .278 with 282 home runs over the course of a 14-year career with Seattle, Baltimore, and Arizona. We'll be talking to Adam about his major league career, but also his very important involvement with the Hall of Fame's Black Baseball Initiative. We'll be opening a new Black Baseball exhibit next year. We also have a number of other programs that are part of this initiative, and we're glad that Adam has agreed to be an advisor to the Hall of Fame on this. We welcome to Virtual Voices of the Game, Adam Jones. Adam, thanks for being with us on our Hall of Fame channel. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me. Anytime the Hall of Fame reaches out to you, you got to be a fool not to pick up the phone. So trust me, it's a pleasure to be here. I know I'll never step up on that stage in that hot summer, but hey, to be linked to the Hall of Fame, have some memorabilia there. Just it's a pretty cool thing.
Well, you're very modest, but in a couple of years, you're actually eligible for the Hall of Fame ballot. And that's something I always try to tell people, just making a Hall of Fame ballot is pretty good. And I would say your chances of being on that ballot are excellent. So
I would
think about.
All I want is one person to vote for me. If there's some writer out there that thinks I had a good enough career, God bless them. If I get one vote, I'd be extremely happy. But I know where my place is, and that's a different echelon of player.
Your career started back in '06. Here we see a very young Adam Jones with the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
Adam, you were a highly touted prospect in the Mariners organization. There were a lot of people who thought you would be a Mariner mainstay for many years. It didn't work out that way because of a trade that eventually came up. But when you first did come up to the big leagues in Seattle, did you think, yeah, this is where I'm going to be long term?
Well, I mean, of course, you are 20 years old. You're in the big leagues by the team you get drafted by, and they're telling you everything that you want to hear. But also, I put in the work to be in that position. And but I remember when I was in AAA, I had a lot of good veterans around me, and one of the guys who was always in my ear was Greg Dobbs, and he was like, "Hey, I know that the organization loves you, but you're still playing for 29 other teams." I always remember that because you never know what could happen. And when I got there, they just said I'm untouchable. And, I didn't get the at-bats I wanted because obviously I'm 2021 and, they're fighting for playoff spots those years. And, I got my cup of tea. That's the real definition of a cup of tea is what I had in Seattle.
You mentioned how young you were when you joined the Mariners, and you go back to that first game, which I believe you faced the Blue Jays, and
Casey Janssen.
Casey Janssen, right-hand pitcher, was the guy you faced that first day.
Yep.
I ask a lot of former players that first day, were they nervous? Were they not? I get all sorts of different answers. Some were extremely nervous, the legs shaking. Other guys say no. How was it for you?
Well, I personally, I was nervous for the workout because it was coming off the All-Star break, which was great for me. I was able to get to the park on workout day before all the guys arrived. I was able to and then get out early and just get my feet wet on the field before really, the big dogs started to arrive. And it was great because I had big league spring training. So all the young guys and the guys that didn't play were out there early, who I spent so much time with in spring training on the backfields working with. So it was very familiar to be around those 4 or 5 guys at first. And then obviously I walked back to the clubhouse and I see the big dogs come in and I'm like, oh, okay, this is not a Peoria no more. We really in Toronto. It's really time to go. And, I just paid attention to these guys' work ethics and their mannerisms. And once the game started, it was fluid because the guys see me before, and I seen them. I knew how to interact with them. But I remember when I went out to center field, I just said, please let this first ball just be easy. Just come on, just easy. And Frank Calinado hit me a nice routine ball. And I was just like, thank God. And I ended up missing a ball later in the game. And I remember Jamie Moore coming up to me and said, hey, kid, it's the big leagues. Don't ever put your head down. Yeah. Be ready for the next ball because it's going to come right to you. And, for the rest of my career, my head stayed high and I chased down a lot of balls.
Yeah, as we said, 4 Gold Glove awards for your work in the outfield. So you're with Seattle 2006 and 7. And then after the season, you're included as part of a massive trade package for a left-hander, somewhat forgotten now, but at the time, very good pitcher, Eric Bedard. And you're sent to Baltimore. Did you have any sense that this was going to happen? Were there a lot of rumors, or were you completely caught off guard?
Well, I was down in Venezuela playing winter ball, so I didn't necessarily understand what was going on. So I was just asking some of the veteran guys, the veteran Latin guys that were down there. They're like, hey, Bobby, something could happen. You never know. Just, keep playing hard and, just try and stay healthy. And then I ended up getting shut down because the trades got, I guess, really intimate. And the part that sucked about it was we were in the grand finals down there, and we were up 2-1 against Miguel Cabrera's team, the Tigres de Aragua, and we was trying to beat them, and we ended up losing the series 4-2. Not saying that I was the cause or anything, but I was there with my boys trying to win a championship down there, and obviously the trade happened February 8th, so they just made sure that I was healthy because we're talking late January, early February at this time, and they wanted to make sure that coming to spring training 3 weeks later that I was 100% healthy. So they shut me down. And, once the trade happened and the rumors were once the rumors started and then the trade happened, I just was like, well, look, I got an opportunity to go play every single day. Each role wants to play center field here. So I got an opportunity to play every single day in center field. And I'll never forget my second day of spring training. Dave Tremblay came up to me and said, hey, kid, this is your spot to lose. And the rest is history. That's why we're talking here.
Adam, before we talk about those initial impressions of Baltimore Camden Yards, I'm curious about Winter League ball because a lot of prospects don't play Winter League anymore. Teams are deathly afraid their prospects could get hurt. But you did play in winter ball. I understand the fan bases locally can be very rabid. It's historically been a high quality of baseball that's played there. How'd you like playing in the winter?
I loved it. Obviously, it was a challenge. We're in a completely different culture, completely different economical system. Everything is different. But it was cool to see the Latins that, I shared bus rides with, shared planes ride with, spent a lot of hours of my life with. It was cool to see them in their element with their families, with their people. It was like, like you come over to my family, it's like our barbecue. It was going to see their cookouts. And it was great. It was great to see them comfortable because obviously they come over to America and, they're uncomfortable in a lot of different facets of just how we live in America. And just to see them 100% comfortable living their life, playing the sport how we do, though having their family around, it was amazing to see and just see their comfort and how passionate they really play. And, being 21, 22 down there, it just was eye-opening that, this world is beautiful and there's a lot of people out there that are trying to work hard and trying to get themselves on top. And it's not just about the United States, it's about the whole entire world. And it really opened my mind to there's more than just 330 million people. There's 7 billion.
How the fans treat you there?
Amazing. Oh, they were amazing. The chants were great. I mean, I played well too. I had 310, so I think that helped. If I was hitting 210, I probably would have got called some choice words, but I was hitting well and I played good defense and I smiled, had a good time. I signed autographs, kissed the babies, and was just open to everybody and had a good time. I had Cesar Izturis there, and I don't remember if you guys remember La Pared Negra, Robert Perez. He played with the Blue Jays a little bit back in the day, and he was like those guys were my protectors, and I just was around them all the time, and they made sure that I was good.
A few weeks later, it's on to spring training with the Orioles. And then, of course, the regular season, I don't know if you had seen Camden Yards as a Mariner, you probably had.
I did. I turned 21 in Baltimore, actually.
Okay. Playing half your games in Camden Yards. I have yet to go there. Everybody, of course, loves it. The fans love it. Players seem to like it too. How did it play to your strengths as a player?
I mean, the ballpark was fantastic. I hold a lot of records there, so that's pretty cool. But no, it was just a great ballpark. It was a great drive coming in out of the county, my 20-minute drive every day. Once you just opens up to that big warehouse once you get there, and my whole commute, everything was just good. And then obviously going out to that field, running out to center field and just looking around, just like, there's so many really good players that have stood in this position, in this center field, and just relish the opportunity that I had to. This is my job. This is my office. There's a big warehouse behind me or to my left. And, all those people in that warehouse, that's their office building. But my office building was right there in center field. And it was just a beautiful place to call home for a lot of years. And, one of the best things about it is about the third or fourth inning, you get that Boog's barbecue breeze that comes over to center field. And, man, when you get some good brisket and onions, you can smell that at 8 o'clock. That's not a good thing. But it was fantastic.
Other than the aroma, what were the challenges of playing center field at Camden Yards?
Or
maybe nothing
really. No, I mean, once they changed the warning track, I remember when I first got there, they had that warning track that was really hard. It was that rubber. And once we changed that, because I told them, I said, I ain't diving on this. I don't care who it is. It better be Game 7 of the World Series or the final out of the World Series. I'll dive, but I'm not diving on this. It's just not going to do nothing. And I seen Luke Scott do it, and he ripped his whole leg up. I'm like, yeah, nah, I'm not doing that. So once we got to switch to dirt, I think that first off, there was no fearness going back and doing anything to catch the ball anyway. But once that dirt got in there, I was just like, well, I really have carte blanche to really do whatever I want to in the outfield. So it just made me as a center fielder a lot more comfortable having dirt, because I don't mind diving in dirt. I don't mind falling in it. And it just made it just a little bit more comfortable center field.
Speaking of center field, we have a question from one of our fans, Thomas Babluski, writes, never hear too much about competition among players themselves, but you were competing for a Gold Glove, which you did win the 4 times. And Thomas was curious to know, I'm sorry, I just lost my chat, just moved a little bit on me here. Anyway, Thomas was curious to know who was your fiercest competition for winning those Gold Gloves in center field.
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's different. 09, when I won my first one, I mean, it's obviously Torrey Hunter was the reigning guy. With Ichiro out there and Carl Crawford. I mean, Vernon Wells. It was especially in the American League. You're talking about center fielders. It was really hard to get one. But when I got it on 09, I'm like, oh crap, how did I sneak this one in? And then I worked my tail off. I thought the next year, 10, I thought that I had an even better year. Franklin Gutierrez won that year, who had a fantastic year. I mean, he was a great center fielder. 2011, I had an even better year, I believe, but Jacoby Ellsbury also had a tremendous year, finished in second MVP, and just what he did was fantastic that year. And then 12, 13, 14, I got him back. And but it just was, it was every year, every day, it was somebody. And then obviously you got Kevin Kiermaier coming into the game. And just, I was like, now I see him. I'm like, yeah, I can't compete with this guy. And then you get Buxton you know what? I'm just going to try and play solid defense now and not worry about these Gold Gloves, because these young dudes are just, they're just unbelievable out there. And they're fresher, they're younger. So, I'm blessed to get one. I was fortunate enough to get 4. I would just say that, thanks to my pitchers for giving me opportunities, I think. But it was every day, every opposing center fielder, it was up to me to, was like, look, I'm going to be better than him today. And more often than not, I was better. And then obviously you got the New Jersey kid who will be in Cooperstown one day. He came in the game, and then everybody just went that way. So Yeah, he moved he parted the sea. He parted the sea.
Yeah, I'm curious, Adam, growing up in Southern California, was there an outfielder, an established major league outfielder that you really liked, that you said, hey, this is the guy I want to play like?
Oh, well, of course, obviously Tony Gwynn was my guy, obviously, but we weren't built the same. But I mean, obviously Tony obviously wasn't built like a speedster, but he was a speedster. He was everything. But Steve Finley, and I told him that years ago, because back then when Channel 4 first came out, when I was, elementary going into teenager, Jane Mitchell, she would do the interviews with the Padres, back scenes, and get all the interviews and just tell the players stories. And Steve Finley, I love the way he played center field. I loved his regiment. He would always do one thing, and I told him this to his face too. I said, the thing that helped me best in center field is one thing I learned from you in 1998 was when you sit in center field and close your eyes and you know where the ball's hit based on the sound. And I learned how to do that because I seen him do that when I was 13 years old. And he was like, there's no way. I'm like, dude, you're one of my favorite center fielders. And obviously, culturally, you would think that, Griffey, obviously, who doesn't love Griffey, Torrey Hunter, Vernon Wells. I mean, you could, the list goes on and on and on. Andre Dawson. But being from San Diego and having 140 games televised, I was able to see him every single day. And Steve Finley is one, to me, I mean, he was a fantastic center fielder. And he played defense hard-nosed, and he's one of the guys I really, really enjoyed watching play center.
Going back to earlier generations, not that you would have been around to see them play live, but maybe you've seen tape of them, maybe you've gone onto YouTube. I think of players like a Devon White, or going back even further, somebody like a Paul Blair, Willie Mays. Were those guys that you were aware of growing up?
Oh, yeah, for sure. In the household, baseball was talked about. And it was everywhere. It was on TV. Obviously, I didn't hear much about Blair because it's very much so East Coast guy. Devon White, definitely heard of Devo. Been long strides, running like a stallion. And when I first started to really get into baseball in, let's say about 94, I think right after the strike, I really started to get into baseball. And, obviously Padres, Dodgers, Giants, Bonds coming over, JT Snow, Piazzas, Sheffields. I mean, the list goes on. Chris Quinn, drop him. That's my dude right there. There's just so many guys. And then you got TV. When the TV, everybody liked the Indians, I believe, because the 95 through 98 Indians were one of the most electric teams to ever play. They should have had a championship. The Braves, everybody loved watching them. Loved watching Andrew Jones. Good friends with him now. I think, TV opened all this up. The Orioles were always on Wednesday Night Baseball with John Miller and Joe Morgan back in the day. So it's just being from San Diego, where obviously our team didn't get the most notoriety. I was fortunate enough to, when I got home from school, I could get the Braves game. I can get Hawk. I can catch the end of Hawk Harrelson talking about the White Sox and Frank Thomas. Obviously, Wednesday night baseball, Sunday night baseball, and then I get to sit at home after I did my homework and bathe. I get to sit home, eat my dinner as a kid, and watch the Padres. So I just think I was fortunate enough to have all that time to where I got to see the East Coast baseball with the West Coast, opposed to how the East Coast people don't really get to see the West Coast just due to time.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you were a rabid fan. Obviously, you still are. You hear from some players, though, they didn't necessarily follow the game that closely, but you're from the other side of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I love the game. I mean, it's what I know. I'm a master at nothing, but it's just one thing that I know well, I believe, and it's something I'm really passionate about. So when I get to talk about baseball and just the history of it, guys that I liked, guys that other guys liked, rivals and all that kind of stuff. It's fun. It fires you up, especially being a player, because the other guys didn't like me, and because I could put myself in that situation as being a 13-year-old, hearing those 13-year-old conversations as I have kids, hearing their conversations about athletes now. It's like one day, or not one day, back then I should say now, those were conversations. My name was involved with some of that, so that's always cool and humbling.
Yeah. Of course, with the Orioles, you really established yourself as a star player, center fielder, a mainstay there for many years. But some other interesting parts of your career, something that's timely because it's going to be coming up this year, the 2023 World Baseball Classic. 10 years ago, you participated in the WBC, playing for Team USA. It's a great picture of you here. The outer shirt being pulled up to reveal USA and your number 10. Just based on this picture, this must have been a wonderful experience for you.
I mean, fantastic. I mean, it's hard to even, just fantastic. An opportunity to represent your country, fantastic. To play with some of the game's best players. Obviously, I've done it in all-star games, but you get to do this in a different environment. All-star game is 48 hours of here, there, and all this. We got to spend 3 weeks together, so it was just fantastic. And this picture is actually from when we won in 17. We lost in 13 to Puerto Rico in the semis to get to, or the quarterfinals to go to the semis. Puerto Rico beat us fair and square, and but no, it was just fantastic. And I'm glad that a lot of the bigger names now, the other big names, want to play in this tournament. They've seen us win and they want to get on and jump on it. And I'm glad they are, because it's fun. I mean, it's so much fun. It's not that many games. It's fun. You represent your country, but you represent America's baseball, and they're representing Dominican's baseball and Cuba's baseball, Japanese baseball. You're representing America's baseball. So for this whole tournament, Mike Trout is not just going to be loved by Angels fans. He's going to be loved by the Mariners fans who don't like him. He's going to be liked by Oakland's fans who are tired of him hitting home runs. So it's going to change. It's going to be all for one for this tournament, and it's going to be awesome. And it's going to be hopefully the teams that make it to Miami. Hopefully it's America, Dominican, Venezuela, and Japan or Netherlands. Those are my picks to be down in the Final Four, and it should be just amazing. And it should be hard because Japan got Otani over there too, so it's going to be an amazing tournament. I'm glad the big boys are saying I'm going to play, because it's still 6 weeks away, and a lot of things happen in 6 weeks, as you know. People tweak things, and a lot of different things can happen.
You mentioned playing in the WBC on 2 different occasions. The first time, 2013, were you surprised at how good the competition was? Because prior to that, you may not have played all that much internationally. And then you see these teams from the Dominican, Japan, and how good was that at all a surprise to you?
Well, I wasn't surprised how good they were. I was just surprised at just how different they was playing with they folks. I'm like, hold on. Y'all had all this locked up in y'all? I remember after that, I remember going back to my camp, and I told all the Latins, I said, oh, no. I played against all these Latin countries, and I seen the flair. I need all y'all to have this flair. I don't care who says these unwritten rules. Nah, that was so much fun playing against Puerto Rico, Dominican, Venezuela, just how much energy is in the stadium, the dance and the music. Nah, I said, I need y'all to do that now. I need you every day too. And, as you've seen, I was fortunate to have Machado his early years, Jonathan Scope, who, those 2 guys just every day they brought the energy and they turned it up. So it was awesome to see. And it's like, look, they have all this energy. Why can't we have it? Because I remember there was an issue. I think Kinsler might have said it, or somebody said it. Somebody had an issue with one of the Latin countries and so much of their antics and energy just for a base hit. And I'm like, why don't we do that? And the second we did that, we started to just beat them. So, match them and beat them. Don't complain about what they're doing. Beat them.
Yeah, that's interesting. Of course, this is Black History Month, Adam, and we do want to talk about your experiences as a Black player for nearly a decade and a half. And this was obviously a difficult time, but it needs to be talked about. The incident that you had to deal with at Fenway Park, it was May 1st, 2017. You're hit with racial taunts repeatedly throughout a game. At one point, even had a bag of peanuts thrown in your direction. Let's talk about this experience. how difficult it was. What was going through your mind during the course of this game?
First, I gotta say that Boston fans are absolutely awesome. Um, I played over 100 and some games up there. They're amazing fans. They're knowledgeable. They'll let you have it. They will get in you. They will let you have it. But there's always going to be incidences where you got stupidity that creeps itself in. And this is not the only incident. There's been multiple incidences in Boston and other cities. It's not just single out. It's not just single out Boston. This is just my incident here. But it's multiple incidents. But what got, I think, everybody really mad was that somebody threw a bag of peanuts. It missed me and hit the cop. The cop got really mad, and that's what I think sparked everything, because people asked me, it was like, yeah, what's going on with the bag of peanuts and you and the cop and what happened in that situation? And then I divulged the information about what was going on in the outfield. So I'm not going to say that this whole fan base is this. No, it's always isolated. It's always stupidity that likes to creep itself into fan bases. You go to a Celtics game. I mean, I've been to some Celtics games. They use choice words for players. And is it right? Is it wrong? I mean, it's not illegal, but I just hope that incidents like this just continue to decrease. Obviously, they're going to happen. I just hope that they decrease, and it just teaches us that we're all subject to everything, no matter what status or stature you believe you're at.
With this incident, Adam, did it start with one fan and then spread to others, or was it a group of fans that were getting on you racially from the start?
I don't think it was a group of fans, because a group would definitely be like just worrisome and like just would be too rambunctious, too loud. I think it's just people, just individuals that just want to be heard and want to get you to turn around so that the whole section can be like, oh. So people just want to get a rise out of you. And the second they get a rise out of you, they won. So just look at them, smile, give them a thumbs up. Yeah, cool, you're funny, And generally when you laugh at them, other people laugh at them and they're a little bit more embarrassed. So sometimes you got to take it on the chin.
Yeah. In the past, athletes have been hit with epithets, racial and otherwise. We've seen them react rather famously. Dick Allen in Philadelphia wore a helmet in the field. George Scott did the same when he was on the road, and then eventually he ended up wearing a helmet all the time because of some incidents with fans. I'm curious, during this situation at Fenway, did you think about putting a helmet on, or did you think maybe I just should get out of here and just leave the field? Did that ever cross your mind?
No, never, because I got a team that's counting on me to play center field and to produce when my turn is to hit. So no, that never ever crossed my mind. I ever did put on a helmet. I never even thought about that. If someone hit me from that far, that's a hell of an arm. Sign him up, sign him or her up. They need to be signed up. But no, I never thought about that. Honestly, I just told the security guard right there, and he messaged some of his friends and had more security put in that area. I just propose a danger, then we have a different problem. But once something like this, you just notify the people, the security, and let them do their jobs. I got a game I got to worry about. I don't have to worry about somebody up there.
Based on what I've read, the Red Sox, they acted pretty swiftly. The team president, Sam Kennedy, came out with an apology the next day. The owner, John Henry, called you maybe the next day after that. They threatened offending fans that this was not going to be tolerated. They talked about permanent bans. This all accurate? This all how the Red Sox reacted after the incident?
Oh, 100%. Kennedy called me that night. Like 11:30 or something at that night, and we met at 1:00 the next day. Me, him, Henry, and our manager Showalter. So, and they were just like, "Hey, man, sorry this happened. We will make sure that things like this don't happen, or try and prevent them as best as we can." And there's nothing anybody can really do, but to have the ownership come down there and just give some approval, just give some words, that goes a long way, because you don't get the owner to move much. And if you can get him to come down, obviously, hopefully next time, hopefully it's under a lot of different circumstances. But Mr. Henry and Sam Kennedy were very, 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 very nice and courteous.
Adam, just one last question on this. After this incident, anything in the future at Fenway or at other ballparks that was anything like this that approached the level of this kind of taunting, this racial taunting?
Nothing ever really reached this. I think some fans through social media were more like, oh, you should be grateful, that you have an opportunity to do this, and grateful, deserve it. I deserve everything. I worked my tail off to be where I'm at. So that's where I'm at. Yeah. So no, the Irish fans, oh, you should be grateful. Like, yeah, come out and do my job better than me, and we can talk. So it was always that mentality. If they can't do it better than me, so I'm not. Why would I waste my energy on that?
Yeah, social media always seems to inflame these situations more, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, what have you. Let's talk about some other stops on your journey. You did spend the majority of your career, of course, in Baltimore. You were narrowly, actually, there was a trade that was made with the Phillies. The Phillies and the Orioles had agreed to it, but you had contractually the right. You must have had 10-5 rights by this point, so you did not accept the deal. But then after the season, you did become a free agent. And you end up signing with the Arizona Diamondbacks, connected now to our Hall of Fame president, Josh Rawitch, who, of course, has been prominent in the Diamondbacks organization. Not that you knew Josh at that point, but why Arizona? What was it about the Diamondbacks? Were they the only team interested? Or if there were other teams interested, what set the Diamondbacks apart?
Well, honestly, I signed March 13th. I had no offers. I was 33, coming off 11 straight years of no DL. And I'm like, how don't I have an opportunity? Who's not 2, 3, 4 years? They ask you to play every day. I played every day. Then they said that I played too much. I don't understand that. So, Arizona honestly was the only opportunity, was the only job. But it was a blessing in disguise. I was fortunate enough to be back in the Southwest. Being from San Diego, my mom lives in Arizona, so I was very close to my mom. Mom showed up at majority of the games, never even needed a ticket, just be in right field when I was out there, and I tried to throw her a ball. And it was a blessing in disguise. My friends got to see me play a lot more often, opposed to whenever I go to Anaheim once a year. We go to San Diego 3 times a year. Arizona is a 5-6 hour drive. LA is close. So it was cool for my friends and family to get to see me, especially at the later part, definitely the second half of my career. But I still, to this day, I got an idea, but I always wonder why there was no interest in me in free agency at the time when I had a pretty good year coming off, but that's for another conversation.
So you end up playing 2 seasons in Arizona. Now, Baltimore, we know, can be very hot, and the humidity is not exactly pleasant during the summer. Then people say, well, Arizona's not too bad because the humidity is low. But it's awfully hot there. Did that bother you at all?
Yeah. I played 1 in Arizona, but no, it was hot. But when I first got drafted by the Mariners, I went out to Arizona July 23rd, 2003. So I knew what to expect in Arizona. I knew it was hot. But beautiful part, it was a dome. So I had quick start on my cars to make sure that the AC was pumping before I got in them. And it was just a 5-6 minute, 15-20 second walk from your car to the inside of the dome. So it wasn't that bad. It sucked, when you try and take your dog for a walk, if you miss it first thing in the morning. If you have to do it at 10 o'clock, it's gonna be miserable. But it wasn't that bad, especially for my job. I was indoors, thank God.
Did you ever swim in the pool there?
No, I did not. I find out that I'm sure a lot of them kids probably peeing in that pool. So I don't. I'm sure they clean it. I don't want nothing to do with that pool.
Never thought of that.
Yeah,
You're right. You did play just the one season there, but after that, it was 2 seasons in Japan with a team
yeah.
called the Oryx Buffaloes. I'm always fascinated by players who go over to Japan. We've heard stories, some of them nightmarish stories about veteran American players finding the transition to Japanese culture extremely difficult. Some players have prospered there. Others have really struggled. How did that transition go for you?
Well, for me, obviously it was hard at first because I feel that I should be here, but now I'm here. So I had to, take it on the chin, and they like a grown man, you got to take it on the chin. And once we got there, and my family got out there with me because we got out there and COVID happened. Unfortunately, my family got out there and came out there before the lockdown. Other guys didn't, so it sucked for the Americans that didn't have their families. But my experience was fun, was great. Me and my family, we traveled, went to Tokyo a lot, went to Kyoto a lot, and ingratiated ourselves with the community, with the culture. Ate as much Kobe beef as anybody ever. A lot of ramen. My kids enjoyed the freedom to walk into school, meeting new friends. I think it was just eye opening for both of us. And I'm glad we did 2 years opposed to one, because one is easy to get in and get out. But two, the second year was even better because we knew I didn't need my interpreter as much for things. I knew what to do with other things and in the daily life. And, it was a blessing. And that's why we live we're in Barcelona, because hey, we can live anywhere as long as I got my wife and 2 kids. It's you can live anywhere, and why not? It's an expression like why not? Well, you only get one life, and why not experience it? You get to see the entire world. My wife has a travel company you see here, and if you follow me on social media, I'm somewhere on a plane going to Africa tomorrow. So, yeah.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit about the language. Japanese is not an easy language to learn. You were only there for 2 years, but were you able to pick up on some of the basic terms that helped you in day-to-day life?
Oh, for sure. And my interpreter helped me out, obviously, the first 3-4 months diligently, every day, everywhere I went. But once we got on the field, I would tell him, just go, just leave me alone, because I want to know the situations. And I started to understand the situations because they did a lot of practicing over there. And, the first man on first base, 2 outs, the situation, man on second and third, infield in. So I got to know all the baseball terminologies of Japanese. So it made it, when I was watching the game, it made it easy that I didn't need to, hey, excuse me, what's this mean? What's this mean? It's like, nah, let me know what they're saying. But I took that upon myself to do it. I would go and talk to my teammates and try, and I'd be failing miserably at trying to pronounce something in Japanese, and they'd correct me, but how can you know how to do something if you don't try? And I always tried to say something to those guys in their language, and it's fun. My kids speak a little bit of it, my wife does, and what great things to have on our resumes that we were fortunate enough to live in Japan.
Yeah. For as long as I can remember, Adam, there's been a rule in Japanese League Baseball that a team could only have as many as 2 foreign-born players, and often there'd be 2 American players. Did you have an American teammate while you were there?
Yeah, so now it's 6 in the organization of 70 roughly. Yeah, they want to keep their game, because if you have more foreigners, they have a lot of guys over there that just would not cut it, but they have them there because they work their tails off to be there. But that's just how they really do it over there. But no, I mean, things are pretty simple. They do things just as normally as everybody else. It's just they're speaking a different language. But once the game starts, it's the same game. It's just played by different people.
So you did have several American teammates.
Yeah, yes, actually I did. It was me, Tyler Higgins. He never got to the big leagues, but he's still searching for a job. Me and him became really close. As obviously being so far from our families, especially during COVID, we got to spend a lot of time together. it's not another American, but Andrew Alberts. He's a Canadian, so he's a North American. Played with the Twins a little bit. Stephen Moya, he's a Puerto Rican, so that's an American. Played with Detroit a little bit, and a Dominican guy, Adelan Rodriguez. But those were my American teammates, and we got to know each other. We definitely got to know each other because we're out there by ourselves. It was COVID, and they really, the guys didn't do anything. They didn't go out because it was COVID, and a lot of guys followed the rules. So, some me and Americans would, sneak off and go get something to eat or something like that.
I've also heard this. I want to ask if it's still true to this day. Do the Japanese really emphasize practice and workouts like nothing you've ever seen? Is that still done?
I tell my friends, they work like the first week of spring training in August. It is taxing. Those players are exhausted, but that's their brand. Their brand is their brand. That's their word. That's how they do it. I think, a lot of the Japanese players, when they come to America, they have to be like, these guys are lazy. No, we conserve our energy. We're not lazy. We conserve our energy a little bit better. But they work. We had 3 weeks off for the Olympic break, and they were like, yeah, we're going to play 10 games against other teams during this break. And I look at them like, huh? And the manager's like, hey, Adam, how many, and obviously through my interpreter, how many at-bats do you need? And I looked at him. I said, I'm 36 years old. I don't need no at-bats. I don't even want to play. Can I take 3 weeks off and go travel throughout the time of 3 weeks off? But I ended up getting I think 6 at-bats. That was all I needed. I don't need that many at-bats anymore. But they work. They practice. They do 2 practices. They work too much. In my opinion, they do a little bit too much, in my opinion.
We're going to get to questions, or a number of people have posted questions and comments in the chat room. We'll get to that in a moment. But I do want to talk to Adam about the Hall of Fame's ongoing Black Baseball Initiative. You are one of the advisors for this. Josh Rawich, our president, continues to speak very highly of you. How did this come about that you would be one of the advisors for the Black Baseball Initiative here at the Hall?
Well, I think just, my history in the game, I've always been a history buff, especially with the Black history of baseball, because, everybody wants to know where they come from. And obviously I was fortunate enough to have a good hero in Tony Gwynn, somebody that looks like, and growing up in San Diego. And then digging deep as I got older and had more resources with Major League Baseball, Bob Kendrick, and with Josh, you can dig deep and go down the rabbit hole of the history of this great game, and it always leads you down just a great path of just another guy, another woman who has done something amazing in this game, and not just between the lines. There's front office people, there's scouts, there's a lot of different people that have made this game and evolved this game in great ways. So I think it's doing my due diligence to understand, how this great game came to be. And, it Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, we've all had a very big part in the game that you see, the product you see today. So to be a part of that is very humbling.
The Black Baseball Initiative does not only involve a new exhibit that will be opening up about a year from now, a little more than a year from now, in 2024, but there are new programs, there are educational opportunities, there will be things that'll be done on the road outside of Cooperstown as well. As you look at a program, an initiative like this, what would you like to see come out of it? Not just in terms of concrete exhibits and programs, but in terms of advancing baseball and advancing the issues regarding civil rights. What do you want to see come out of this?
Well, obviously the initiative, the initiative is great. But what I would like to see out of it would be the continuousness of it, not just let's have an exhibit, let's have this 1 year, one event, bam, that's it. Something continuous to where, you keep honoring these guys, because I had Ted Williams' name, obviously being from San Diego too, thrown down my throat every single day, and rightfully so. He's one of the greatest hitters of all time. And that's how I think Satchel Paige should be thrown down people's throats. Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell, these guys should be thrown down these guys' throats the same way that the American heroes are. So that's what I would just like to see, is that not just an exhibit and have just one time and one great celebration, but multiple celebrations yearly, something that is, a continuous educational project. Because the more and more you dig, the more and more, it's like all our histories, as you see now, the more and more we dig in our histories, the more unique, cool things are starting to pop up.
You grew up as a Padres fan, and you think about the Black history with the Padres. Nate Colbert, who recently passed away, still the all-time home run leader in franchise history. Tony Gwynn, really the guy in the history of the franchise. Dave Winfield played the first half of his career there. Ozzie Smith came up as a Padre. Every franchise has this Black history that can be talked about.
Yes. Some more than others, yes. I was fortunate to have Tony Gwynn, and somebody that was local also. Obviously, he's from Long Beach, but he was local. He was on commercials, and not just commercials to make money. He was on commercials, really driving the cars and really in the community, really there. And, when I had a name and got myself there, I wanted to be there. I wanted to be present, not just a headline. I wanted to be present. And, I'm fortunate enough to have such a great guy. Greg Vaughn is another guy. But the list goes on and on. Obviously, Griffey was on TV so much that everybody got to see how iconic he was. Barry Bonds on TV so much, wasn't as talkative as Griffey was, but you got to see just the impact he brought to his team every single day. I think he's the number one WAR leader. I think he's the best player to ever lace it up. But I was fortunate to grow up in a really good era. And one of my, I think, greatest things about my professional career is that Mark McLemore, my mentor, we went to the same school. So we've known each other since I graduated high school. And it's, I've had that insight on not just my generation, two previous generations, being that we're 20 years apart.
Adam, there's a player agent named Lonnie Murray, whom you're familiar with. She has said publicly that she likes to send young Black players your way for mentorship purposes. That obviously says a lot about you. Specifically, though, how do you advise and mentor these young Black players?
Well, first, I try to just basically tell them the truth. It's a cutthroat business, it's a dog-eat-dog world in professional sports and in most businesses. So I don't cookie cut it for them, but also try to give them advice on how to battle everything that's going on. And again, I tell them the truth that certain things I never faced, because I was first rounder. I got to the bigs early. So there's certain things that I can't always understand, but I had friends that have been in those situations and told me about the situation. So there's some sort of not expertise, but a little bit of relativity to most situations. And I just try to really just get in their heads about how hard do you really want to work? How hard do you really want this? Do you want it for the limelight? Do you want it for the glitz and the glam, or do you want to be, you want to have on the back of a baseball card, have it be real long opposed to two little lines? So, what do they really want out of it, and how do they really want to go get it is kind of how I try to talk to these guys, and just try and be truthful with them, because there's a lot of, in sports, it's a lot of BS. Like anything, it's a lot of BS. So I try to just be an honest life for them.
We have just under 10 minutes left. We have a number of questions in the chat room. Let's get to some of those. This first one comes in from Steven. He says, Adam, thank you for being a great Oriole. Do you remember the home run you hit off Mariano Rivera, Yankee Stadium, July of 2013, that won the game for the Orioles 2-1? I'm guessing Steven was at that game. You must remember going deep against Mo.
Steven, you damn right I remember that. Are you kidding me? It's the crazy thing is my brother-in-law, he gave me the New York Times article. He framed it and gave it to me. I have it in my office. And for what? Mariano? And the thing is I thought that I was going to be the last guy to hit a home run off of him, and then Miguel Cabrera got him. I thought I was going to be the last guy to ever get Mo, and Mickey got him. So, yeah. Oh, Mariano. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Was it one of his cutters?
Yeah, it was a front door cutter. It was a 1-2 pitch. He threw a front door cutter, and if I didn't swing, it was a strike. Since I swung, it went right into my barrel, and off the bat, I'm running the first, like, there's no way. And then I hit first. I'm like, I just took Mariano deep. Are you kidding me? I'm kidding the candy store.
That's great. Coming in from David Pyers, question: Adam, I enjoy your podcast and all of your interviews. Are you contemplating a career as a full-time announcer?
First off, thank you for following the podcast. It's fun. We got new episodes coming out every Thursday now, and it's going to be season 2 just started, so it's going to be really fun. I've been approached a little bit. As of now, I say no, just because of the time commitment. I got 2 young kids, and I'd rather be with them a lot, especially at the ages that they are. But down the future, I always say never say never. If there's an opportunity that arises down the future, I definitely have to look into it seriously. But for right now, I'm enjoying traveling and hanging out with my young kids or my wife.
That those drop every Thursday. It's a weekly program that you do. You do it with a guy named Jerry Coleman, not to be confused with the Ford C. Frick Award-winning broadcaster, but a guy who does a very good job with you. I've watched a couple of the episodes on YouTube, so it's not just an audio podcast; it's video as well.
Yeah,
and that's one of the ways people can access it. So every Thursday that comes out.
Yeah, and I've been in multiple places taping, because obviously doing travel, and I always find some time to do the tapings, and and you trust me, I wish it was Jerry Coleman, the real Jerry Coleman. Trust me, doctor. He was an absolute gem, absolute legend. But yeah, me and Jerry Coleman in Baltimore, we have a podcast, and we just discuss some Baltimore sports and just have a good time.
Yeah, of course, Jerry was the longtime Padre broadcaster as well. A question coming in from Jeff Lance. Adam, which of your Baltimore teammates was your favorite and why? Tough question. Tough to boil it down to one guy.
No, Jeff Lance, my guy. No, honestly, it's hard to say just one, but guys that I gravitated towards. Obviously, when I first got there, Nick Markakis, was able to play 7 years with him, and my guy Robert Andino. We played fall league together, and he got traded over there in 2009, and we just gravitated towards each other. Obviously, there's tons of other teammates that we have good relationships with, but those 2 were the ones that really stood out as my teammates, because they just had similar interests, and just those were my guys.
I don't want to ask you who your favorite manager was, but was there a manager that maybe you think you learned more from during your career?
Well, I had Buck Showalter in August of 2010 through 18. So he got over there, and I just turned 25, and he basically just told me, "Hey, I need you to show up every day and bring it." Okay. You don't need to tell an athlete, sit him down and tell him how to do, and this is what I need out of you. And man, you're a professional athlete. I need you to bring it every day. Okay. Yeah, I could do that. And, hopefully I did that.
Well, Buck did a great job with the Mets just this past year. Question coming in from Reg Jones. Adam, any thoughts on how to get more Black players involved in baseball?
That's a big, big question. I mean, obviously that's the looming question. I think, well, first off, there's more Blacks that are playing, I believe. And the pandemic sucked for a lot of people. Doesn't matter the color. I think the pandemic just halted a lot of lives. As you see, it's, especially if you have any collegiate athlete kids. I mean, the collegiate world right now is crazy still recovering from people who had 50 years. I think it's marketing. Obviously, there's MLB's always not been obviously in the top of the marketing when it comes to the MLB. I mean, the NBA and the NFL. it's hard to market with those two brands. Obviously, they market. I mean, you watch ESPN, that's all you see is football and basketball, even if it's the off season for both. So I think it's just marketing. It has to be on TV more. You got to show the black faces more. It's recognition. That's the only way to me. You can pour money into programs, but they have to see the kids. You can't just go to a basketball court and say, "I want you to play basketball. I want you to play baseball." It's not going to work like that. And also with that, you have to really invest in the kids that want to play. The ones that really want to play but don't have a chance. Those are the ones that need the most investments, not the ones that you're trying to make play. The ones that are already doing it, those are the ones that need the even bigger investments, the bigger push, the bigger posts.
This next question kind of ties in with this last one from Stephen Turner. Thank you, Adam, for the work that you're doing for Black players. Do you feel there are any specific activities that teams could do to promote the game among Black American players? And I'm not trying to speak for Stephen, but maybe Negro Leagues nights, honoring, great Black players from the past. Specific activities, Adam, that you think can be done.
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I know in Baltimore, we brought back the Baltimore Elite Giants jerseys. Hot as hell. Oh, them old Wolves that they were. I mean, you could still have the logo and switch up the material. No, I mean, you've seen it in the last couple of years as obviously the Kansas City Royals at the forefront of it, being the Monarchs' home base, doing the Field of Dreams game. I think it's just honoring your team's history. I think the Yankees obviously do it the best when it comes to honoring their past, honoring their former players. The Red Sox do a good job of it. The Dodgers do a good job of it. And the thing is, you have to honor your players, no matter, even if not the ones that you liked, and he was the ones that, was always the most charismatic and kissed all the babies. You need to honor all of them because they all told a story. Because in Baltimore, obviously there's some guys that you don't see all the time, but when you talk about that person or these people around fans, they're like, hell yeah, I love this dude, man. This dude was hard nosed. But again, when you go upstairs and the chain food, the ladder, the same sediments are not the same. So I just think that organizations should just honor their players more. It's not hard to do. It's not hard to fly a player out, have a lunch with him, and do something. It's not hard to do. It costs you, it's pennies for this. And the fans eat it up. Have an autograph signing with them. Have a luncheon. You can charge for the luncheon if you want to. It is capitalism. I get it. But there's so many things you can do. And, I'm just, hopefully one day I get my flowers in that stage. But I just hope that going forward, a lot of organizations do that. And for everybody, though, for the Latin community, for the American community, for everybody. Like, the guys that paved the way and, that are hanging rafters, and you see rafters and jerseys all in these pictures all throughout your hallways and in the ballparks, show some love to them. Bring out them for a day. Show them some love.
That's a great point, Adam. I think of 3 Black players, long retired, but that I've had a chance to meet each of them. Sadly, 2 have passed away. Buck O'Neill, Jim Mudcat Grant, and Al Oliver. Al, thankfully, is still with us. Meeting all 3 of those guys here in Cooperstown at the Hall of Fame really enhanced my love of the game. I thought I loved the game, but then you meet these guys, great guys with great stories to tell. It makes you more of a fan. You're absolutely right.
100%. I got to spend some days with Don Newcomb. I mean, are you kidding me? To hear the stories, Jackie Robinson's roommate, not just sat there, just 20 minutes, just listening to what? You don't get those kind of opportunities, and you have to relish it. Sometimes I get opportunities to spend time with Dave Winfield. Are you kidding me? You don't get those opportunities. And I ask questions. Obviously I'm done playing now, but I ask questions about, hey, retirement, post-career. You can't just sit up in the house. You got to do something. And these guys have so much knowledge, so much game that they can spread that, you'd be a fool not to ask these guys the questions. When you got these guys in a room and you don't ask them questions, you a fool. First ballot Hall of Fame fool, since we're in the Hall of Fame.
Our guest has been Adam Jones. We've had a lot of fun this past hour talking to him about a variety of topics. Standout Major League outfielder, 5-time All-Star, and an important part of the Hall of Fame's ongoing Black Baseball Initiative. Adam, really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thanks for everybody tuning in. That was really fun, and thanks for the questions.
Adam Jones has been our guest on Virtual Voices of the Game. We hope everyone has enjoyed the program. Want to remind everybody that we'll continue Black History Month celebration Thursday, February the 16th. Larry Lester will be our guest on Virtual Voices. That'll be a special start time, 1 p.m. on Thursday, February the 16th. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Adam Jones. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.